Hello and welcome to Algebra 2, Chapter 7.7, and today we're discussing statistics and statistical graphs. So first of all, we're going to revisit our measures of central tendency, and they are mean, median, and mode. And just remember that these are numbers that give you a number around the middle of a set of data, and that's why they're called measures of central tendency. So the mean is the average. You add up all the numbers and divide by how many you have. The median itself is the middle number when the numbers are in the numerical order. And the mode is the number that occurs most often. So here we have a set of data that represents the number of games won by teams in the Eastern League of the NHL Conference. And we want to find the mean, median, and mode. And so to start with, to find mean, we could just add up those numbers. So 36 plus 39 all the way up to plus 24. I would suggest you add them twice just in case you add them incorrectly. And then I would like to see what they total. So you should get 445. And then how many numbers are there? There are 13. And so then we can go ahead and divide that out, and we get 34.23. So we'll round to 2 decimals there. So this is your answer. It is nice to have this number, though, just because if you messed up, then we know at least why you got the wrong answer. All right, so for the median, we really need these numbers to be in numerical order. So I'm going to write them out. We'll start out with 17. And then 24, 25, 30, 33, 34, 36, 37, 39, 40 happens twice, and so we do need to make sure to write it down twice. 42 and 48. All right. So if we have 13 numbers, that's an odd amount, so there is going to be one middle number, and it should be the 7th number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if you count from the other way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the median is 36, and they have to be in order for you to find that. And then our mode, and this is nice when they're in order too, because you can just look through that, and our mode is 40. So there's our mean, median, and mode. So we're going to add one new thing. We have range. We've always had range, we've talked about, and so range is just the difference between the greatest number and the least number, so the biggest number minus the smallest number. But we're also now going to have what's called standard deviation. And standard deviation is the difference between the mean and the data value. And so what happens, so these little X's with a line above them, that's the mean. Okay, and so the standard deviation for a set of data is you're going to take each piece of data and minus the mean, and then square it. And you're going to add all those together. So the next piece of data minus the mean and square it. And you're going to add all those together for however many pieces of data you have. You're going to divide by how many pieces of data you have, and then we're going to square root that. And that number gives us our standard deviation. And if you go on into stats, your standard deviation tells you a lot about data sets. So right now we're just going to find our standard deviation. So we have the same set of data, and we want to find our range and our standard deviation. So our range, we're going to find our high number, which if we still had the numbers written out, 48, minus our low number, which was 17, and that gives us 31. So our range is 31. So then to find our standard deviation, use this little symbol called a sigma. It's a lowercase sigma, by the way. So we're going to do the square root of, so each piece of data. So if we start out with, let's do our lowest, well, actually, let's just start out with our first number. So we're going to do 36 minus our mean. If you remember from that last example, our mean was 34.23. So we're going to do 34.23 and we're going to square it, plus our next number, 39 minus 34.23, and we're going to square it, plus the next number. Okay, now on and on until you get to 24 minus 34.23 squared, and we're going to divide this by how many numbers we had, which was 13. Now, there are some great attributes of your calculators that will do a lot of this for you, or make it easier anyway. And so I'm going to leave it for you like that and see if you can put this all in your calculator, and you should get roughly 8.12 as your standard deviation. And we will talk in class about some different ways to put this in your calculator that makes it a little less cumbersome. So the next thing we want to talk about then is a box and whisker plot. And so this is what it looks like. So you have your box in the middle, and then you have your two whiskers out on the sides. And the way that you find these numbers, we're looking for 5 numbers in particular. So upper extreme, there you go, lower extreme, those should be self-explanatory. But these quartiles and this median, so how do we locate those? And so the median is you know what it is, it's the median. But the upper, lower quartile, and lower quartile, so this is the median of the upper half of the data. That's of. Hold on, I lost my ability to spell real quick. We'll try again. Okay. And the lower quartile then is the median for the lower half of the data. So what you end up doing is you're going to find the median 3 times. You're going to find the median, which is going to separate the data into 2 groups, and then you're going to find the median of the upper group and the median of the lower group, and those are your quartiles. So if we look at this, so same set of data, so we need it in order still. So if we go back to putting it in order, so hopefully you have this written down still. So but 17, 24, 25, 30, 33, 34, 36, 37, 39, 40, 40, 42, and 48. And you know, a trick I would always say is to make sure that you have all, in this case, 13 pieces of data there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, then you're not going to mess up by not having all the numbers there. So we already said that the median was 36. So there's my median. So you have 2 sets of data. Now you have this lower set and the upper set, and the median is not in either one of those. Okay, so now we have to find the median of both of these. So we have 6 numbers, which is an even number, which means we're going to have 2 middle numbers. So if we look at the bottom set, here's my 2 middle numbers. So remember, when you have 2 middle numbers, you take the average. So 27.5 is your lower quartile. And then at the top, they're both 40, so 40 is our upper quartile. So when you do a box and whisker, you need to put it on a number line. And we have to go all the way from 17 to 48. So let's do 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. We'll just do it like that. And so label your numbers. So it's 17, so I'm just going to label that 17. And then up here we got 48. And then you're going to have your median is at 36. We're going to draw a line there. So that's my median at 36. My lower quartile is at 27.5, which is about right there, 27.5. Upper quartile is at 40. There's 40. Draw in the box. Draw in the whiskers. There you go. So median 3 times, and then your two extremes. Okay, and the last thing we want to talk about is a histogram, and there's a few key characteristics of a histogram. So on the bottom, we have these groups of data. So we have like 0 through 20, 20 through 40. So the data is grouped into intervals that have equal widths, and so the same interval per category there. And what a histogram shows is a frequency. So this is labeled number of students, but that is how many students got that score. So a score between 0 and 20, that's how many students scored that number. And so the bars need to touch, okay? And this is based off of a frequency distribution. And so the first thing you might do when you do a histogram is actually make a frequency distribution. So if we come back to looking at this set of data again, what we're going to need to decide is what are going to be our intervals. I mean, you could do 0 to 50 and catch them all in one, but that's not going to do us much good. So I would maybe suggest, so we're going to do a frequency distribution first. We're just going to do it out to the side here. Let's do 10 to 19, 20 to 29. So this is going to be how many games they won. 30 to 39, and then we can do 40 to 49. And then so each set of data, you're just going to make a little tick mark. So 36 would go there, 39, 40, 34, 48, 33, 25, 30, 37, 17, 42, 40, and 24. And then again, you might want to add those up and make sure do you have all 13. Okay. And then to do your histogram, so really first quadrant, so this is going to be number of games won. And then over here, we're going to have our frequency. And so we're going to have this whole section here that's going to be 10 to 19. And this is going to be 20 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49. And then we'll just count by ones. Alright, so when we do this here, so the first bar is going to come up to 1. So that's saying that one team won between 10 and 19 games. And then our second bar comes up to 2. So 2 teams won between 20 and 29 games. Then we're going to go up to 6. Oop. And then we have 4. Alright, there is our histogram. So, there's 7-7. Make sure you ask any questions you have. You have a test coming up, so let's make sure we're ready for it. I'll see you in class.